Welcome back to the In the Clinic podcast with Rob. And if you are looking to find a way to decrease the amount of body fat that you have, this is the video for you. Yes, this is the video for you. We are going over how to overall decrease body fat, and it has nothing to do with exercise. So a couple updates before we get fired away into here. Clinic's going strong. We have a new personal trainer that has started with us. Her name is Jody Todd. She is absolutely crushing it. She's making an impact in our clients in the specialized strength side and over with our clients that are just starting this physical therapy individuals over in our physical therapy clinic. So she's making an impact across the board. And she's doing that a couple ways. It's pretty interesting to see her come in and start galvanizing the membership. And it's kind of unique. So I've been able to just sit back and watch her style. So one, with Jody Todd, she was a personal trainer before, came into our clinic, is passionate about helping people improve in health and wellness overall, especially for individuals over 40 to become more mobile, active, and fit. So for her already having that desire, that meets our memberships. We really focus on individuals that are 40 and over. And what she's done right from the get-go is that she has a presence and an emotional maturity to her that allows her to connect with people right away. Number two, she's really humble with it. And what I mean by humble is she's okay doing things that are uncomfortable. She's okay being a little bit silly if people need it. She's okay being energized if people need it. And so she's really accelerated right into the roles that we've put her into, and now she's running our Power Hour classes independently. She's doing a great job on getting great feedback. The amount of energy she brings into it, the way she keeps it engaging and exciting is huge. But also her commitment to her clients. She's already putting into individuals changing their programs for what they want, getting great communication and feedback. And then when they're in person, her attention's all on them. And she does it in a kind way that draws people in. So as far as Jody goes, she's doing a great job. Really proud of her. Been fantastic seeing her evolve rapidly into our clinic overall. So for anybody that doesn't know me, first time watching this, my name is Rob Sumner, owner of Sumner Specialized Physical Therapy and Specialized Strength. And our whole focus with these videos is to give you the best information that help makes your fitness, health, wellness better. And that could come in the form of physical therapy, it could come in fitness, nutrition, personal training, or like today, just good old-fashioned knowledge on physiology. So let's get started with it. When I'm talking about physiology, what I'm really talking about is the evil word that we've heard forever, which is fat. And fat overall, when I was growing up in the 80s, was like the taboo word. It was something that nobody really wanted. You saw how, it was promoted that fat is bad. You shouldn't eat fat, that you want to minimize how much fat you're eating. And all the marketing at that time for food was centered around fat. So you look on every package, it said fat-free, low fat, zero fat. And it had the marketing angle that fat is bad and that this, by not having any fat, being free of it, was good for you. So it was always funny to me that you'd have those big tubs of licorice, red licorice, that you could eat that whole thing, and on the thing on the top said fat-free. Like now it's magic to where you can eat it without consequence. So of course, what has that done for our country? What has that done for America? It has changed our waistlines, our health status. It's put a lot on individuals that metabolically that wasn't there before. So fat now has started to evolve, and it's evolved to the sense that people realize it's not the demon that we once thought it was. They even started breaking it into, saturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and monounsaturated fats. But even that is currently changing in our thought process of of, saturated fats are evil, or bad because they're saturated, so you want the unsaturated. Well, new research is now coming out about seed oils and what those do with a unsaturated fat on how it changes your body and the molecular process. So overall, if you're here wanting to know how that you can improve your overall fat on your body, and you could do that with the least amount of effort, well, this is the video for you. If you're listening right now on podcast, on Spotify, Apple, any of those, welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you listening on those as well, and I'm looking to give you the absolute most value for the minute that you're here, so let's get fired away. So when we're talking about fat, we have multiple levels of fat. We have a white fat, we have a brown fat, and we have a beige fat. So you really have three different types of fat. So when you're looking at white fat, that is really dealing with the subcutaneous or the fat that you typically see that you can squeeze. So when you squeeze your stomach, when you squeeze your arms, when you squeeze your love handle on your side, that's what we're talking about. That's really your white fat. But also some of that white fat is also your visceral fat. So visceral fat is that deeper fat that's around your organs, that's sitting in there, that is tucked around your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all of your internal organs. So what other type of fats are there besides our subcutaneous and our visceral fat? Well, you also have brown fat. That's truly what we're going to be talking about today is brown fat. Now, the thing about all of our fats is they're actually essential. We have to have fat on our body. So if you look at men and women, they both need to have some level of fat because that's where a lot of our hormones are actually produced. We need some level of fat to help with the development of our body. We also use it as stored energy. So to reap the long-term benefit of consistent energy production, well, we need to have some fatty acids that are available to do that. So if you look at women overall, women should have a good percentage of body fat, from 20 to 30% of their body fat being fat. For men, they can get away with less. They can get away with down in the 10s to 15s for a healthy range. So we're not talking about athletes, we're not talking about that capacity, but it's important to note that fat on our body is essential. We need it for a lot of the overall regulatory processes of the bodies related to hormones or other. So we don't want to eliminate all of the fat on our body, but it would be important to reduce the subcutaneous and visceral fats. Now, both of these are the white fats, and both of these are important to reduce because without them, we do know that when you have an excess amount of white fat, either visceral or subcutaneous, then what do you get? You're going to get more lifestyle diseases. Heart disease, coronary artery disease in particular, stroke, diabetes. You're going to get an attack on all of your vessels. So fat overall is necessary in the right window. But when you start getting way too much fat, that's when it's a problem. And in particular, the visceral fat is the one that we truly want to avoid the most, because that is the most potent to the body itself. It really chokes off the organs in the whole abdominal cavity from the heart all the way down, and prevents it from really functioning properly. So overall, with those three types of fats, with the white fat, the visceral fat, which is a white fat, and brown fat, we have a process for each one of them. But what exactly is brown fat? So brown fat was originally found in babies. When babies are born, they have a certain amount of fat that's on them that is used for that early development of producing heat, for a lot of the changes that are going through their metabolism so high. And it was originally thought then we eventually just eliminate it. We don't use it anymore. But what do we find? That later with specific testing and imaging, we found that even adults have brown fat. And it's centered around the shoulders, the collarbone, around the spine. And we know that brown fat is called brown fat because it has a different hue to it. It has a different color to it. And it has to do with the mitochondria that are there in the cells and how they're metabolically active. So overall, brown fat is purposeful because it generates heat without shivering. It stimulates what we call thermogenesis, the production of heat. It stimulates its own heat in your body. So think about that. Areas of cold, individuals will naturally develop more brown fat. Areas that are consistently cold, you'll develop more brown fat, so you can then use what? Your white fat that's stored on your body as a means for generating heat in your body. So that's pretty helpful. That is biologic. That helps you overall decrease the amount of white fat on your body, but for a purpose. And the purpose is heat generation, thermogenesis. So what is this beige fat? I barely heard about brown fat. You just told me what brown fat is. Now there's a beige fat? It sounds like a mix between brown and white. Well, it is. So we have certain processes in the bodies that allow us to then take a white fat cell and convert it to a brown fat cell. But it never truly gets brown. It's more of a beige. But it acts just like a brown fat. You get all of the properties of the brown fat, meaning thermogenesis and production of heat, just like the brown. So how do we make this applicable to life? Brown fat's great and all, but how do I reduce the spare tire around my tummy? How do I decrease my hip fat? How do I decrease my overall fat and allow myself to really use it as heat and energy for my body? So there are a couple ways that you can stimulate brown fat. We know that it's hugely essential. We know that it's important to have brown fat. So what are some ways that we can actually produce it? Well, the first one is exercise. And not just exercise, but a specific type of exercise has been found to increase the amount of brown fat development on your body, which is high-intensity interval training. So high-intensity interval training has been shown to then go ahead and increase the amount of brown fat, which then creates thermogenesis, which does what? It stimulates white fat to be used as energy. So you're increasing your overall brown fat through high-intensity interval training. So what is that? So high-intensity interval training really is when you're getting into exercise aerobically. So it's short bursts of aerobic exercise, could be 30 seconds, could be a minute, that you're doing with high intensity, full effort. So there's two reasons that this is good. High intensity interval training allows you to get the benefits of exercise in a short window. So instead of having to jog and run for a full hour, you could do these short bursts, 30 seconds on, off, on like clockwork, a minute on, off, clockwork, where you're giving full intense effort. So at the end of each one of these, you should be breathing pretty hard. You should be huffing and puffing. Because by doing that, you're going to start stimulating the second benefit, which is brown fat. And then just while you're resting, you're burning more of your white fat. So let's say you don't like sweating. All right. You don't like exercise. You don't like running on at a high intensity level. You don't like doing high intensity exercise. You don't want to breathe hard. Let's say that's you. And honestly, it might not surprise me. You know why? Because I heard a great statistic the other day that 95% of people after the age of 30 will never sprint again. Only 5% of people after the age of 30 will ever sprint again. Wow. 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 That's crazy. Until you think about it. And you go, well, they might jog, they might run, but a dead sprint, unless something's chasing you, that doesn't always happen. So keep that in mind by elevating our fitness level through high intensity training. It's going to stimulate brown fat. But if you don't like exercise and you don't want to do that, well, what else are your other options? Your other options is intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting has been shown to help stimulate brown fat, which brown fat then stimulates thermogenesis. And by doing that consistently, then you're going to get the benefits of fat metabolism. You're going to get thermogenesis. It's creating fatty acids to make heat. So how do we do this? Well, intermittent fasting we all typically do because we go to bed and we don't wake up until the morning. So there's usually 7 to 8 hours that we're sleeping that we're not eating. That's a fast. Hence, the name breakfast came from break your fast. You slept all night, so you're fasting, so now it's time to break it. Break fast. So when you're looking at overall, we're breaking our fast when we start eating again. Anytime we start eating again. So the longer you can make your window between the last time you ate to the next time you eat, the longer you can, you'll stay in a fat burning mode. You're going to be utilizing the fat that's on your body as energy. And as long as you don't go too long, 24, 48 hours, then you're not going to stimulate your body to freak out and have it panic. It could go 14 hours, 15 hours without eating. It could do that without it really panicking. Heck, you could possibly go 24 hours without it panicking. And what I mean by panic is where it stops using fat as energy and it starts using muscle. Because it starts getting a little bit worried that you might not eat anymore. So it wants to retain your highest energy sources, which is your fat. So if you just keep your fast between 8, 10, 14 hours, you're not going to hit that point. But you are going to stimulate brown fat. Because brown fat does increase with intermittent fasting. So the last reason, or the last way that you can stimulate brown fat without a ton of effort is cold plunging. Yep, cold plunging. So cold plunging is another area that you can utilize that you don't have to run, you don't have to sprint, you don't have to breathe hard, but you do have to be uncomfortable. Because why cold plunging? Because cold plunging stimulates a response in the body that panics it and says you are now in cold water or cold temperatures. And by being in cold temperatures, your body wants to make sure that you have enough heat as fuel. So what does it do? It kicks up your brown fat, starts creating thermogenesis, starts creating the use of energy on your body to prepare to keep yourself warm. And what energy source does it use? It uses fatty acids in your fat. So there's three main ways that you can stimulate brown fat. You can do intermittent fasting, you can do high intensity interval training, and you could do cold plunging. But let's say that you're an individual that's like, gosh, I don't want to have to be in the cold. No. And I don't want to have to sweat. I don't want to have to sweat. And I like to eat all the time. I want to eat all the time, not just sometimes. So if that's you, then choose which foods you eat. See, there are a lot of different foods that help you stimulate brown fat production and encourages it to trigger thermogenesis. So all of your cholinergic acid foods, you're going to have some pears, apples, coffee. All of those have cholinergic acid, which then stimulates brown fat, stimulates thermogenesis. What about certain herbs like thyme, rosemary? They both increase brown fat, create metabolic efficiency, increases your exercise capacity, and helps lower your inflammation. So other foods, vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, cranberries, raspberries, all of these type of foods will stimulate more brown fat thermogenesis, which is what is thermogenesis really is. It uses white fat cells, your subcutaneous fat, they use it as energy. Even foods that are high in omega-3s like salmon, sardines even, they activate brown fat too. But they also help convert harmful white fat to beige fat. So how handy is that? How handy is that? There are certain foods that you can eat that cause an increase in brown fat. But the one that's the easiest that I haven't told you about yet for brown fat, this one you can utilize for sure. You can add into all of your foods to help stimulate brown fat. Cayenne pepper. Anything with capsaicin. So we've got, jalapenos. You've got any type of spicy, hot food. Know that you're kicking up thermogenesis. And you already know this. Why? Because you could feel your pores open up. You could feel the flushing that occurs right across your nose, under your eyes. You could feel like your head is tingling and that it's starting to get pores of water leaking out. It's panicking. What is this hot sensation on my tongue? Panic. And that stimulates brown fat. Brown fat increases efficiency of the metabolism. So overall, what do we know? We know that we want to stimulate brown fat, and we can do that with certain foods, and we can do that with certain activities. From cold plunging to intermittent fasting to exercise, high-intensity interval training. So what can you do right now to move forward? Well, one, you might not want to buy a cold plunge, so go get a shower. Sit in your shower on the coldest water that you possibly can and let it hit the back of your neck and run down your body. Shoot for 2 minutes on the start and eventually build up to 5 to 10 to 6 minutes. It's going to numb your body, I guarantee it. It's going to numb your body, which is going to stimulate the same panic response, norepinephrine that runs through your body that says, we got to do something about this. Act. And it's going to stimulate brown fat to eat up white fat as energy. It is. Just start with a shower. See if you can do 2 to 3 minutes. What about intermittent fasting? Well, start shortening your window. Don't eat at night. Don't do late night snacks. Don't get up early and eat. Give yourself at least a 10-hour window of not eating so your blood sugar levels can come down. It shuts off your pancreas. All of your internal organs can function properly. And the last one is high-intensity interval training. Do it. Try it. It's good to breathe hard. It's good to push your body. You've got to be able to do some of those activities. So if that's you and you wanted 3 easy ways that you can add into your life to increase your production of brown fat and ultimately decrease the amount of body fat, that spare tire around your stomach, if your hips are bigger than you want, well, this could be it. Brown fat. Start eating foods that serve you, that don't add to brown fat. Stay away from bottled waters, bottled and packaged food. They have chemicals in them that prevent brown fat. So what do you want to do? Eat whole foods. Eat your cayenne peppers, turmeric, spicy foods. Start stimulating your own bit of brown fat, and I know you can do it because I watch people do it all the time in our training facility that are in our programs. So overall, I hope this video helped you. I hope you got knowledge on different types of fats, how brown fat can serve you, what thermogenesis is, firing up your metabolism and how to decrease your overall subcutaneous fat overall. I'm glad you are a part of watching this video all the way to the end. If you're one of the 1%ers, the 4%ers that made it to the end of this whole video, I appreciate you. Please hit that like button. Do it. Hit that like button, and it fuels me to continue to build great content for you. So thanks for watching today, and go grow some muscle.